It's the 1st of September 2022 and the sun's still shining in Finland. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about today is whether energy caps on the price of energy, or energy price caps, will they actually work? Will they actually do what they're sold to do, which is to protect the poor from rising electricity and gas prices? So I think the first thing to explain is like what actually is a price cap. Well, the answer is it's a form of intervention by the government where bureaucrats dictate a maximum price that's set below the current market price. And the idea of it is that the market price is politically it's considered to be too high by the government, and then they instruct their bureaucrats to impose a maximum price that's below what the current market price is, and it's enforceable by law. So if a company tries to charge more than the price cap, they can theoretically be taken to court and be prosecuted. So that's the idea of it. And I guess if you don't know much about economics, you'd think, oh well, this sounds like a really great idea, doesn't it? It's King Canute can stop the tide from coming in by commanding it. So the government can stop high prices just by decree, by imposing a price cap. And what I'm going to do now is explain the problems associated with price caps and just explain why they don't work. But I guess even before I do that, I can just point out something very simple to both Brits and also to foreign viewers of this channel who don't know anything about these energy price caps in Britain. And that simple fact is that over the last 2 years, the government has increased this price cap very dramatically. So it now stands that they're talking in the press in Britain that the price cap is going to mean that UK households are only going to spend on average £5,000 this winter on heating and lighting their homes, and they might actually have to increase this price cap again. So this begs a question, doesn't it? When is a price cap a price cap? And because the price cap that they've got in Britain is increased. It's increased regularly. So that seems to be like an oxymoron. It's a price cap that's not a price cap if it can be constantly increased by the government according to their whim. So why has the price of electricity and gas, why has the market price been rising? We can discount what the mainstream media say about Putin because it's just frankly laughable that the UK used to import 5% of its natural gas from Russia and precisely 0% of its electricity. So that one is blown out of the water, that it's Putin's fault in its sanctions. That's absolute nonsense. Prices can go up when supply decreases. So green initiatives have led to a decrease in the supply of both electricity and natural gas in the UK. Like, we've been slow to develop new North Sea oil finds for environmental reasons. There's pictures of Ugly Patel standing in front of coal-fired power stations, seconds before they were blown up with a big smile on her face. So supply has decreased. The supply of energy has decreased. Over here in Finland, there was about a year ago, they were trying to shut down peat-fired power stations that generated electricity. And thankfully, the owners of those power stations refused to blow up their equipment. So at least here in Finland, there's a chance that those get reopened again. In Britain, they were shutting down the coal industry a long time ago. It's very difficult to restart it. So when supply is deliberately vandalised by the state, by state intervention, you're going to get increases in market prices. I think the other thing as well that I've just realised that I should have pointed out is that in England, the market for electricity and gas, it's dominated by a very small number of large companies. And we're actually living in a period of time. Some people call it crony capitalism. I think Mussolini called it corporatism before the term fascism was coined. And it's basically the union of state with corporate power. So what I think also has been happening is that these big energy companies, they've been called in for meetings at Downing Street, and they're working as a cartel. So a cartel, it's an organisation, a group of companies in the same industry who monopolise the supply of something. And when they want the price to go up, they collectively set production quotas. So if everyone cuts production in unison, that will decrease market supply, and it will cause the market price of whatever the cartel supplies to increase. So, obviously there are drug cartels, but what we've actually got here is an energy cartel, and these private companies are working with the state. In fact, actually the people at the very top of those energy companies are probably more powerful than the puppets like Boris Johnson and Sanna Marin. And that's another reason why I think the market price of energy has gone up, is that the big energy companies have actually made it so. And, are these private companies? Well, in name only, I would say. They're just part and parcel of this kind of same entity, this same union of state and corporate power. It's not the market price's fault. The market price is just a symptom of what the government did, which is intervene to deliberately decrease the supply of energy generated from burning fossil fuels. The market price of energy will also rise when there's an increase in demand. And I think one thing that's happened in the UK that everyone's talking about at the moment is immigration. So immigration's increased the UK's population, so that's going to increase the demand for energy. That's fairly clear. But that's not the main driver of increased demand. The main driver is global money printing. It's not just the UK government that's been printing money. It's not just the German government. It's not just the American government. It's all governments. So the way that I would see it is that the prices of everything have been rising. That's called inflation. So rather than seeing, talking about rising electricity and gas prices, what we should really be looking at is a fall in the purchasing power of money. And rising electricity and gas prices are just a symptom of that. It's a symptom of a fall in the purchasing power of this what you call fiat money, paper money, that's just been printed into oblivion by corrupt governments pursuing the World Economic Forum's anti-human Great Reset agenda. So I guess what I'm saying here is that the whole debate about price caps, it's quite sophisticated, really, in the sense that it's a massive distraction away from the big issue, which is rising electricity and gas prices. It's not the fault of the market, it's the fault of the government, because it's the government that engineered the decrease in supply of energy, and it's the government that engineered the increase in the and it was the government that engineered the increase in the demand for energy. So what will the price caps achieve? Well, I'd say at the moment exactly the square root of nothing, because, as I said earlier, they're just being regularly increased. So the price cap is sort of tracking increase in the market price fairly accurately and fairly regularly. So in all intents and purposes, the price cap is about as useful as a chocolate teapot at the moment. But maybe as a thought experiment, let's imagine that you had a government that really did care about its own people. I know that's a bit of a stretch at the moment, but let's imagine it. And let's imagine that they did set an energy price cap that was well below the market price. Would that fix the problem of high energy costs for consumers? Well, my old mate Daryl Mullen, the GP, he would say yes, and that's because he's a nincompoop who doesn't understand anything about, well, even basic things like scarcity. If you have a price that's set by the government well below the current market price, then what that's going to do is it's going to disincentivize energy companies from trying to find more energy at a time when energy is most needed. So if you artificially reduce price, then you reduce the incentive for people to supply whatever the price cap is applied to. So it was the same in the olden days when they tried rent controls. It always backfired because, you know, being a landlord, it can be a difficult job. You know, your tenants can trash your place. There's a risk that they run off and not pay. It's just aggro. So if you impose if the government imposes an artificially low rent, then what happens is that a number of landlords will just say, sod it, it's not worth the fuss anymore. I'm not going to put my property on the rental market. So the supply of rental properties, it falls, and so you actually get a worsening of a housing crisis. There's even more scarcity in that market, and that's exactly what would happen if you tried to put a proper cap on the price of energy that was well below the market price. It would just lead to an even bigger drop in total production of energy at a time, as I say, when it's most needed. The excess demand would manifest itself in that manner. And so will there be power cuts this winter time? I guess it depends on how often they actually reset the price cap. If they were to set a genuine price cap that genuinely protected consumers, then given what they've done to supply, there would have to be there would have to be energy blackouts. So what are they going to do then? The answer is obviously I don't know. They might just do a few power cuts just for shits and giggles, and just to see what social unrest they can create in order to create a reaction from us. And that reaction will be, what they hope is that we'll call for more draconian policing and a more authoritarian state that has even more power over the individual. So what I think they are going to do, though, if I'm being honest, is I think they're just going to allow the price of energy and gas to keep on rising. So they'll just keep on lifting this price cap, making the price cap higher and higher and higher. And what they'll do is allow the price mechanism to allocate the limited supply of energy their government intervention policies have created. So basically only the rich will be able to heat and light their homes. And not even GPs like Daryl Mullen will be able to afford to heat and light their own homes. And maybe, just maybe at this point, he might even wake up and realise that the government isn't on his side. Or maybe he'll just blame the Tories and fail to realise that the Labour Party works for exactly the same masters, you know, the World Economic Forum, the Trilateral Commission, the same globalist cabal as the Conservatives do. But the thing as well is it's training. You know, the price cap, when it was brought in about 5 years ago by Theresa May, I must admit I was a bit shocked at the time, because I thought that Britain was a free society, and in a free society market prices are set by the market. They're not set by politicians like in a command economy, you know, either a fascist command economy, you know, Hitler set prices, not the free market, or maybe a socialist or a communist society, you know, where again, same thing, central planners set the prices. So I was very surprised that there wasn't more of an outcry when Theresa May brought in these price caps, as I say, about 4 or 5 years ago. But, you know, maybe they're training up the general public to react to, I don't know, what's the word, to go against the free market and to embrace state authoritarianism, the state running every aspect of your life, you know, including how much energy you're allowed to consume and what price you're going to pay for that energy, and so on. In fact, actually, that's another thing that I've just thought about now, is that by creating a shortage, another option that they've got is to go in with some sort of rationing system. And of course, these days it would be done digitally. So you would need a digital ID, wouldn't you? And each household would be given a ration of so many kilowatt hours of electricity. And that would have to be all monitored digitally. So this might help them to bring in, you know, things like central bank digital currencies, digital IDs, this digital surveillance grid that they want. You know, hence, I guess, them pushing for smart electricity smart meters for so long. So anyway, that's all I want to say from sunny Finland. The wind's got up a little bit now, and I'm a bit warm actually, but it's not as warm as it was. Anyway, God bless to you.